The moment you begin to desire abundance, something subtle happens inside you that few people ever stop to notice. Beneath the surface of intention, beneath affirmations and hopeful thoughts, an older voice often awakens, shaped by years of survival, disappointment, and quiet adaptations. This voice does not speak in words, but in sensations. A tightening in the chest when money is mentioned, a rush of urgency when bills arrive, a vague fear when opportunity presents itself. And it is precisely this inner landscape that determines how life responds to you. Not because the universe is judging your worth, but because reality reflects the identity you inhabit, not the wishes you repeat. Many people believe they are blocked because they are not asking correctly, visualizing hard enough, or maintaining the right emotional state. Yet what truly governs manifestation operates at a deeper level, where identity quietly organizes perception, decisions, and behavior. You can desire abundance sincerely and still live from an inner posture shaped by scarcity, caution, or self-protection. In that case, the desire itself becomes strained, almost heavy, because it is pulled from a place of wanting to escape rather than a place of coherence. Life responds not to the longing, but to the way you show up each day, to what you tolerate, to what you believe you can sustain without collapsing inwardly. This is not a failure of faith, nor a lack of spiritual alignment. It is the natural consequence of living with an identity that has not yet expanded to include stability, receiving, and responsibility. Abundance is not something that arrives to rescue you from who you are. It is something that grows naturally when who you are becomes compatible with it. As you continue listening, allow this idea to settle gently. You are not here to chase prosperity. You are here to understand how becoming reshapes reality and how your financial life begins to reorganize the moment your inner posture changes. When desire turns into pressure, there is a quiet shift that happens when desire stops being an invitation and starts becoming a demand. At first, the wish for prosperity feels hopeful, almost gentle, as if life might open new doors naturally. But over time, especially when results do not appear as expected, that same desire can harden. It turns into pressure. It begins to carry impatience, comparison, and an unspoken fear of being left behind. What once felt like a dream now feels like a deadline, and in that transformation, something essential is lost. Pressure does not arise because someone wants too much. It arises because wanting becomes entangled with fear. Fear of not having enough time, fear of repeating old patterns, fear of proving to oneself or to others that one's efforts were not in vain. When desire is fueled by fear, the body does not experience it as creation. It experiences it as threat. Muscles tighten, thoughts accelerate, attention narrows. Instead of expanding into possibility, the nervous system contracts into protection. And from that contracted state, reality cannot reorganize in a sustainable way. This is why so many people feel exhausted in their pursuit of abundance. They are not tired because they lack discipline or clarity. They are tired because they are trying to build a new life while their inner system is still operating under survival rules. Survival does not allow for patience. Survival demands immediate relief. It seeks certainty, control, and quick results. Abundance, however, grows through steadiness. It requires tolerance for uncertainty, the ability to stay present through discomfort, and a relationship with time that is not driven by panic. When desire becomes pressure, subtle behaviors begin to appear. Decisions are rushed, opportunities are accepted without discernment, simply because they promise relief. Money is spent impulsively to soothe tension rather than to support growth. Conversations about value feel uncomfortable, so they are avoided or softened. None of this is done consciously. It is guided by an inner identity that believes safety comes from reducing tension as quickly as possible. This identity does not trust stability. It trusts escape. What often goes unnoticed is that this identity once served a purpose. It may have developed during times when resources were limited, support was uncertain, or emotional safety depended on adaptability. In those contexts, staying alert and reactive was intelligent. It kept life moving. But when that same identity remains active during periods of potential growth, it becomes restrictive. It keeps the individual orbiting familiar emotional territory, even while the mind dreams of something larger. The universe, life, reality, whatever language resonates most, does not respond to urgency the way it responds to coherence. Urgency sends a fragmented signal. It says, "I need this to happen so I can finally relax." Coherence says, "I am capable of holding what comes, even if it challenges me." One seeks rescue, the other signals readiness. And readiness is not an emotion, it is a state of organization within the self. This is why abundance often arrives quietly, without drama, in the lives of those who are internally settled. Their desire does not vibrate with desperation. It rests within a stable sense of self. They are not trying to prove their worth through outcomes. They are not measuring their value against timelines or external benchmarks. As a result, their decisions carry weight. Their boundaries feel natural. Their actions are consistent. Over time, these qualities reshape their financial reality, not through force but through alignment. Pressure also distorts perception. When someone is pressured, they see obstacles everywhere. Delays feel personal. Feedback feels threatening. Neutral events are interpreted as signs of failure. This constant interpretation reinforces the belief that life is resistant, that progress is fragile, that one wrong move could undo everything. In such a mindset, even success can feel dangerous. Instead of bringing relief, it brings anxiety about maintenance and loss. In contrast, when desire is rooted in identity rather than fear, the emotional tone changes. There is room to pause. There is space to evaluate. Mistakes are processed without collapsing into self-judgment. Growth becomes a process rather than a performance. Money stops being the symbol of salvation and becomes a tool within a broader life structure. This shift does not happen through positive thinking alone. It happens when the inner system learns that expansion does not equal danger. Many people wait for abundance to arrive before they allow themselves to feel grounded. But grounding must come first. It is the foundation that allows abundance to stay. Without it, any increase in resources, recognition, or responsibility feels overwhelming. The individual unconsciously pushes it away, not because they do not want it, but because their internal world has not been prepared to hold it without stress. Understanding this changes the entire conversation about manifestation. The question is no longer why something has not arrived. The question becomes whether the current identity is structured to receive and sustain it. Identity is not an abstract concept. It is lived daily through patterns of attention, emotional regulation, and choice. And when those patterns shift, reality follows, not instantly, but reliably. Desire, when freed from pressure, becomes something else entirely. It becomes direction rather than demand. It informs movement without forcing it. In that state, prosperity is no longer chased. It is allowed to emerge as the natural consequence of a self that has learned to remain open, stable, and present in the face of growth. Identity shapes what feels possible long before money appears or disappears, before opportunities arrive or vanish. There is an invisible architecture shaping what feels possible in your life. This architecture is not built from thoughts alone, but from repeated emotional experiences that slowly teach the body what to expect from reality. Identity is born there. It is not the story you tell about yourself, but the posture you inhabit when life asks something of you. It is revealed in moments of choice, hesitation, and response, especially when the outcome is uncertain. Identity quietly answers questions you rarely ask out loud. Can I handle more responsibility without losing myself? Can I be seen without feeling exposed? Can I receive without guilt or the urge to give everything back immediately? These answers are not intellectual. They live in the nervous system, encoded through years of adaptation. And because they are embodied, they feel like truth even when they are outdated. This is why two people can desire the same level of abundance and experience completely different realities. One feels drawn toward opportunities with a sense of grounded curiosity. The other feels pulled with tension, as if stepping forward might collapse the fragile balance they have learned to maintain. The difference is not talent or intelligence. It is identity. One identity includes growth as a safe experience. The other associates growth with loss, exposure, or instability. What often goes unnoticed is that identity does not resist abundance directly. It resists the internal states abundance would require. Stability, visibility, consistency. These states challenge identities built around adaptation and emotional vigilance. For someone who learned early that safety depended on staying small, flexible, or unnoticed, prosperity can feel like standing in bright light without protection. The body reacts before the mind can reason. This reaction creates an invisible ceiling, not a ceiling imposed by the world, but one maintained internally. Whenever life approaches that ceiling, subtle self-corrections appear. Energy drops, focus scatters, motivation fades, not as punishment, but as protection. The system is trying to preserve coherence with what it knows, and because this process is largely unconscious, it can feel as though the universe itself is withholding something. In reality, life is responding with precision. It reflects back the level of expansion that the identity can currently tolerate. This is not a moral judgment. It is a form of feedback. Identity acts as a filter, allowing in what feels congruent and deflecting what feels threatening. Until that filter changes, no amount of desire can override it consistently. This understanding reframes frustration in a profound way. Struggle is no longer evidence of failure or misalignment. It becomes information. It points toward the edge of identity, the place where growth feels uncomfortable not because it is wrong, but because it is unfamiliar. At that edge, the nervous system hesitates. It asks whether the new level of life will cost too much emotionally. Many people attempt to bypass this hesitation by adopting new beliefs or affirmations. While beliefs can guide attention, they do not automatically rewire identity. Identity changes through lived experience, through moments where the body learns that it can remain present, grounded and intact, while operating at a higher level. Without these experiences, affirmations remain abstract. They speak to the mind, but the body does not listen. This is why abundance that arrives suddenly, without internal preparation, often leaves just as quickly. The individual may consciously want to keep it, but unconsciously feels destabilized by it. The system seeks to restore equilibrium, even if that equilibrium is limiting. The loss then reinforces the belief that prosperity is unreliable, further strengthening the old identity. Conversely, when identity evolves gradually, reality reorganizes with less resistance. Financial growth feels earned not because of effort alone, but because the inner world has adapted to hold it. Decisions become clearer. Emotional reactions soften. The individual no longer oscillates between hope and despair. There is a sense of continuity, of being the same person across different circumstances. Identity also shapes how value is perceived. Someone with an identity rooted in scarcity may undervalue their time, skills, or presence, not because they lack worth, but because worth was never mirrored consistently in their formative experiences. As a result, they may accept less, ask less, and expect less, all while believing they desire more. Life responds accordingly, matching expectation with outcome. When identity includes self-trust, the relationship with value shifts. Boundaries feel natural rather than defensive. Choices feel intentional rather than reactive. Money becomes less charged emotionally. It is no longer the measure of safety or self-worth, but a resource that reflects alignment between inner and outer structures. In this state, prosperity does not feel like a threat to identity. It feels like an extension of it. The transformation of identity is subtle. It does not announce itself dramatically. It is noticed in small moments, such as the ability to pause before reacting, to tolerate uncertainty without panic, to remain present during success without immediately anticipating loss. These moments accumulate. Over time, they recalibrate what feels normal. As identity shifts, the universe appears to respond differently. Opportunities align more smoothly. Relationships become more supportive. Financial patterns stabilize. Not because reality has changed its rules, but because the individual is now participating from a different internal position. The signal sent outward has changed, and the echo follows. Understanding this dissolves the myth that manifestation is about convincing the universe to deliver. It reveals that life is already responding continuously to the identity being lived. Desire sets direction, but identity determines capacity. And as capacity expands, reality reorganizes with quiet inevitability, mirroring not what is wished for, but what is embodied. Coherence is what reality recognizes. There is a subtle intelligence in the way life responds, an intelligence that does not react to words, intentions, or emotional peaks, but to coherence. Coherence is the quiet agreement between what you feel, what you believe you can hold, and how you move through the world when no one is watching. It is not intensity, it is consistency, and consistency is far more persuasive to reality than passion fueled by urgency. Many people mistake emotional elevation for alignment. They wait to feel inspired, confident, or motivated before they trust their direction. Yet inspiration rises and falls. Motivation fluctuates. Coherence, on the other hand, is stable. It is present even on ordinary days, especially on days when nothing dramatic seems to be happening. Life organizes itself around what is repeated, not around what is imagined occasionally. When inner coherence is missing, signals become mixed. A person may speak of abundance while acting from fear. They may seek growth while avoiding visibility. They may value prosperity while resenting responsibility. These contradictions are not flaws of character. They are signs of an identity still negotiating its boundaries. But to reality, they appear as noise, and noise does not invite clarity. Coherence begins where inner agreement forms. This agreement does not require certainty about outcomes. It requires honesty about capacity. When someone lives from coherence, their decisions carry weight because they are not fragmented by internal conflict. Even small choices feel deliberate. There is less oscillation between extremes, less emotional whiplash between hope and disappointment. Over time, this steadiness reshapes external conditions. This is why two individuals with similar resources can experience vastly different results. One moves with coherence, aligning actions with an internal sense of readiness. The other moves with contradiction, advancing and retreating repeatedly, unsure which part of themselves is truly in charge. The first sends a clear signal. The second sends a fragmented one. Reality mirrors both with accuracy. Coherence also changes the relationship with time. When inner states are aligned, there is less urgency to force outcomes. Progress is trusted even when it unfolds gradually. Delays are not interpreted as rejection. They are simply part of the unfolding. This reduces emotional volatility, which in turn stabilizes decision-making. Financial life, which is deeply sensitive to emotional regulation, benefits immediately from this stability. Incoherence often manifests as exhaustion. The individual feels drained not because they are doing too much, but because different parts of them are pulling in opposing directions. One part wants security, another wants expansion. One seeks approval, another seeks autonomy. Without integration, energy is lost in internal negotiation. Coherence restores energy by unifying direction. This unification does not require perfection. It requires presence, the ability to notice when actions align with inner values and when they do not. Over time, alignment becomes familiar. Choices that once felt uncomfortable begin to feel natural. The body relaxes into a new baseline. This relaxation is not complacency. It is confidence without tension. As coherence deepens, the external world appears to respond more fluidly. Conversations flow with less resistance. Opportunities arrive without forcing. Financial patterns stabilize not through control, but through clarity. The individual is no longer reacting to circumstances. They are participating with intention. This shift is subtle, yet profound. Reality recognizes coherence because coherence reduces friction. When internal alignment is present, actions are not sabotaged by doubt or second-guessing. Follow-through improves naturally. Boundaries hold without aggression. Values are expressed without defensiveness. These qualities create trust, both internally and externally. And trust is a powerful organizer of outcomes. In financial life, coherence shows up as reliability, not rigidity, but dependability, the ability to manage resources without emotional extremes, to engage with money without shame or obsession, to see numbers as information rather than judgment. This emotional neutrality allows for better choices, which compound over time. Abundance in this context is not sudden, it is cumulative. Many people wait for confidence before they allow themselves to act coherently. In reality, confidence often emerges as a result of coherence. When actions align consistently with inner values, self-trust grows. That trust becomes the foundation upon which prosperity can rest. Without it, any external gain feels unstable, easily lost. The universe, as a metaphor for the interconnectedness of life, responds to this stability, not with dramatic gestures, but with continuity. Patterns shift gradually. What once felt blocked begins to move. What once felt chaotic begins to organize. These changes are often noticed only in hindsight, when looking back reveals how far one has come. Coherence is not a technique. It is a state of being cultivated through awareness and repetition. It is built in moments where alignment is chosen over impulse, clarity over urgency, presence over escape. Each of these moments reinforces an identity capable of holding more. As coherence becomes embodied, the question of manifestation fades into the background. There is less concern about attracting and more focus on sustaining. Life is no longer something to be convinced. It is something to be met. And in that meeting, reality reorganizes itself, not in response to desire alone, but in recognition of a self that is finally unified. Abundance emerges. When identity stabilizes, there is a point in every transformation where effort gives way to steadiness. Before that point, growth feels like a series of attempts, adjustments, and emotional negotiations. After it, movement becomes quieter, almost unremarkable yet far more effective. This shift does not occur because circumstances suddenly improve, but because identity stabilizes. And when identity stabilizes, abundance stops feeling like an external prize and begins to function as a natural extension of one's inner organization. Stability is often misunderstood. It is not rigidity, nor is it the absence of challenge. Stability is the capacity to remain internally present while circumstances fluctuate. It is the ability to hold responsibility without resentment, opportunity without panic, and growth without the constant anticipation of loss. When identity reaches this state, financial life begins to reorganize almost on its own, guided by clearer perception and more grounded decisions. Before stability, abundance feels intense. It excites and threatens at the same time. Gains are celebrated quickly but guarded anxiously. Losses feel catastrophic, even when they are temporary. The emotional charge around money is high, because money is still carrying symbolic weight. It represents safety, validation, freedom, or redemption. In such a state, financial life becomes emotionally volatile, reflecting the instability within. As identity stabilizes, this symbolism softens. Money gradually loses its role as emotional regulator. It no longer defines worth or security. Instead, it becomes information, feedback, and resource. This change is subtle, yet it alters everything. When money is no longer burdened with emotional expectations, it can move more freely through one's life. Decisions become less reactive. Planning becomes more realistic. Long-term vision replaces short-term relief. Stabilized identity also changes the relationship with effort. There is less pushing and more pacing, less urgency to prove and more patience to build. The individual no longer measures progress by emotional highs, but by continuity. This continuity creates momentum that does not depend on mood. Over time, it produces results that feel sustainable rather than fragile. One of the clearest signs of identity stabilization is the ability to remain grounded during success. When abundance arrives, whether through increased income, recognition, or opportunity, the stabilized individual does not immediately brace for impact. There is no rush to protect, hide, or sabotage. Success is received with calm attention. It is integrated rather than defended against. This integration allows success to remain. Instability, by contrast, struggles with permanence. It expects reversal. It scans constantly for signs of collapse. This vigilance exhausts the system and often leads to self-correction behaviors that reduce visibility or responsibility. Stability interrupts this cycle. It teaches the body that continuity is possible, that growth does not require constant vigilance. As this lesson settles, patterns shift, financial rhythms become more predictable. Spending aligns more naturally with values. Earning reflects actual capacity rather than bursts of overextension. Relationships around money become clearer, less charged with unspoken tension. These changes are not dramatic. They are quiet, cumulative, and deeply transformative. Stabilized identity also reframes setbacks. Challenges are no longer interpreted as evidence of inadequacy. They are seen as part of a longer trajectory. This perspective reduces emotional reactivity, which preserves energy. Energy, once conserved, can be directed toward refinement rather than repair. Over time, this creates an upward spiral that feels grounded rather than forced. It is important to recognize that stability does not eliminate fear entirely. Fear still arises, but it no longer dictates behavior. It is acknowledged without being obeyed. This shift is crucial. When fear loses its authority, choices align more closely with long-term well-being. Abundance thrives in this environment because it depends on consistent values-based action. Reality responds to stabilized identity with increasing coherence. Opportunities align more precisely with actual capacity. Collaborations feel more mutual. Financial growth follows clearer channels. This response is not mystical, it is relational. Life mirrors the level of organization presented to it. When the inner world is organized, the outer world follows suit. At this stage, manifestation is no longer a focal concern. There is less emphasis on attracting and more emphasis on sustaining. The question shifts from whether abundance will arrive to how it will be integrated. This shift marks a profound maturation of identity. It signals readiness not just for more, but for continuity. Stability allows abundance to be lived rather than chased. It creates a foundation where prosperity is not an event, but a condition. From this foundation, growth continues naturally, guided by clarity rather than compulsion. Reality, sensing this coherence, responds in kind, reorganizing itself around an identity that has learned to remain present, grounded, and whole as life expands. At the end of this journey, what becomes clear is that abundance has never been something distant, selective, or reserved for a few. It has always been relational. It responds to how life is being lived from the inside out. Desire points forward, but identity determines what can remain. And identity is not an idea to adopt, but a state that is slowly embodied through emotional stability, coherence, and the willingness to remain present as life expands. When abundance feels absent, it is rarely because something is being withheld. More often, it is because the inner structure is still learning how to hold continuity without tension. Life does not test to punish. It mirrors to inform. Every repeated pattern, every financial cycle, every emotional reaction around money is feedback, quietly showing where identity is still negotiating safety, worth, and responsibility. Throughout this reflection, one truth stands out. Reality reorganizes itself around what is stable, not around what is hoped for in moments of intensity. Stability is not the absence of fear, but the ability to stay grounded when fear arises. It is not perfection, but consistency. It is not force, but coherence. And when these qualities become familiar, abundance stops feeling like a risk and starts feeling like a natural extension of who you are becoming. This is why transformation often feels subtle before it feels visible. Identity shifts first. Emotional responses soften. Choices gain clarity. Time feels less hostile. From there, external conditions follow, sometimes quietly, sometimes gradually, but almost always reliably. The universe, life, reality itself does not need convincing. It responds to what is lived, repeated, and sustained. If there is one thing to carry forward, it is this understanding. You are not waiting for abundance to choose you. Abundance is already responding to the version of you that shows up each day. As that version stabilizes, expands, and becomes more coherent, your financial reality reorganizes not through effort alone, but through alignment. This is not a finish line, it is a foundation. And from a stable foundation, growth becomes less dramatic, but far more real. As you sit with everything that was shared here, consider this question carefully, without rushing to answer it mentally. If your life continues responding to who you are being rather than what you are wishing for, who are you consistently showing up as when no one is watching? Not who you hope to become someday, but who you are reinforcing through your patterns, reactions, and emotional posture right now. That question is not meant to judge or pressure. It is meant to illuminate, because awareness is the beginning of coherence, and coherence is what reality recognizes. If this message resonated with you, if you felt clarity rather than hype, depth rather than promises, then this space is meant for you. Subscribe to the channel so you can continue exploring these conversations about identity, abundance, and inner stability with intention and continuity. New videos are created for those who are no longer looking for quick fixes, but for real transformation that holds over time. And before you leave, stay with us on the final screen. There is another video waiting that deepens this understanding even further, connecting inner alignment with daily life in a way that feels grounded and real. Let this not be just something you listen to, but something you continue to reflect on as your journey unfolds.